Welcome back to the Crypto channel, everyone. My name is Josh, and right now, Bitcoin is still playing out this massive top signal again, which I warned about in my last video before the crash actually happened. And while Bitcoin has been crashing, of course, the altcoin market has been crashing very hard, like for example, Solana having a major move towards the downside. But while this has happened in the crypto market, this has now opened up a massive market inefficiency in the funding rates. Yes, that is right. Right now, we can exploit an arbitrage opportunity in the Bitcoin and crypto funding rates, which I am already starting to do right now, making thousands of quick and easy profits in the market. So in just a moment, I'll be talking about exactly how we can make very easy and quick money right now in the crypto market. Definitely watch this video from start to finish so that you don't miss out on any of this important information. First of all, starting off on the weekly Bitcoin price chart, and the super trend indicator is still sitting in the green, indicating a larger bull market. But on this weekly Bitcoin price chart, we are potentially about to reconfirm this bearish divergence with, of course, another higher high in the price in the candle closes, and the RSI potentially now about to reconfirm a new lower high in the weekly Bitcoin RSI, which would basically extend this bearish divergence and reconfirm the bearish divergence on the weekly Bitcoin price chart. And in case you wondering, the next weekly candle close is in a little over 1 day from now at exactly Sunday night UTC. And so if the price is anywhere near where it is sitting at right now on Sunday night UTC midnight, of course, that would reconfirm the lower high in the RSI, confirming this larger bearish divergence, which would ultimately very likely cause a larger cool off, either a larger sideways consolidation or quite possibly a larger pullback in the next 1 to 2 months as a very likely scenario. So keep that in mind. And on the 3-day Bitcoin price chart, we're getting very close to a new bearish crossover again in the 3-day Bitcoin MACD, already losing significant bullish momentum, of course, with that latest drop off right here. And the last couple of times we saw something similar in the MACD indicator on this time frame, we did at the very least see some bearish price action, possibly a bit more. And obviously we've already just had a major bearish move. But if we're taking a look at this daily Bitcoin price chart, of course, this is something that I warned about in my last video, and I warned about this before the entire crash actually happened. And basically the moment I posted the video, just a few minutes after the video, essentially we saw this major crash about 10 minutes after I posted the video. So hopefully if you watched the video in literally the first few minutes of me posting it in my last video, hopefully you got warned about that move coming next and actually exited the market like what I did before the move actually started. But essentially right now we still have a massive top signal repeating history. We're seeing very similar price action right now to what we saw near the beginning of this year. Obviously a bearish divergence in the price of Bitcoin on this daily Bitcoin price chart, followed by a double bottom, and then followed by a slight all-time high breakout above the previous high. In both of these cases right here, slightly hitting new all-time highs, but not going much higher, only around $1,000 higher, give or take, above the previous all-time high, and then rejecting, and then ultimately having a major crash in the following days, just like what we've just seen. But of course, what happened last time from that first following crash, we actually saw a much further crash over the next few weeks. And even outside of the charts, outside of technical analysis, we're even seeing the same news right now causing this dump as to what we saw back here around February, for example, which is of course the tariff news. Once again, I talked more about this in my last video. If you want to know more about all of that, check out my last video here on the channel. But basically, President Trump came out and talked about new potential tariffs on China right here as one of the main catalysts for this drop-off. Very similar to what we saw around February entering into March. And so I'm basically just saying the same thing that I talked about in my last video before this drop happened. I'm saying the same right now. Obviously expect potentially a much larger pullback in the coming weeks, especially if we break these lows right here. This is for now acting as some major support at roughly 107,000, and obviously we candle wicked a little bit lower, but we still have a lot of support at 107k, 108k to pay attention to. But especially if we lose that area of support, expect potentially a much larger pullback, potentially down towards around 100,000, maybe lower, maybe around 98,000 as a major point of support. But don't let any of that scare you away, because in just a moment, I'll be showing you how we can profit no matter what the price is doing. So of course, beginners out there think the only way to profit is just to simply buy Bitcoin on the spot market and hope it goes towards the upside, and that is it, and then sell at a higher price. Obviously, if you're sticking to that strategy, it can work out relatively well if you can time the market, but there's other ways to make a lot of quick and easy profits no matter what the price is doing. Even if the price is dumping, pumping, it doesn't matter. We can make easy profits in the market, which I'll explain in just a moment because I'm doing it right now. But first, taking a quick look at that 4-hour Bitcoin price chart, and obviously Bitcoin very much continued to play out this massive bearish divergence here. Now, with that being said, of course, this is not a normal outcome of a bearish divergence. Usually we see maybe a slight pullback, but not necessarily a move like this. So obviously this was definitely accelerated by a liquidation event, and of course the announcement of tariffs. All of that combined essentially helped to cause this major drop off right here, wiping out a bunch of long positions, wiping out a bunch of open interest, wiping out a bunch of leverage. And this is just speculation, so I don't actually have information to back this up, but personally, in my opinion, I do think that this move, considering how violent and fast this move was towards the downside, I do think, once again, just speculation, I don't know this for sure, but I do think, in my opinion, that potentially a major player in the crypto market, possibly multiple major players out there, got completely wiped out. So I'm talking about a possible market maker or a possible exchange or a fund, a crypto hedge fund. And so just be aware of that possible risk. Of course, we saw something similar during 2022. We saw a systemic risk in the crypto market during 2022. Obviously, we saw the Luna collapse right around here, but it wasn't only Luna that went down. And so obviously we saw Luna have a violent collapse towards zero roughly around May 2022, but that brought down a lot of other players, like for example 3 Arrows Capital, a crypto fund, crypto trading firm, for example. And then of course we saw other lenders, like for example Voyager, Celsius, BlockFi, all collapse as well. And then of course the final nail in the coffin was the FTX collapse during that 2022 bear market. So one massive asset that goes towards the downside can actually cause a lot of other massive players to get wiped out as well. So just keep that in mind. It is quite possible that maybe some major players in the market, I'm talking about possible exchanges or market makers, for example, might have just got completely wiped out on that flush. And so just to be on the safer side, I would recommend, not financial advice, I can't legally give financial advice, but I would recommend having funds just off exchanges for the time being until the dust settles a little bit, at least over the next few days or weeks. Ideally have funds in cold storage and self-custody just to be on the safer side. Once again, I don't know this for sure, but to be on the safer side, for example, in 2022, it would have been best to have your funds in self-custody rather than on a platform like, for example, FTX that ultimately ended up going bankrupt. And now, obviously, if you're using funds to actively trade, like what I'm doing right now, we kind of have to have that on an exchange in order to actually trade with those funds. But any excess funds sitting on an exchange, personally, I'll just recommend basically withdrawing those funds just for now, at least until the dust settles. And if we're taking a look at the Bitcoin dominance chart here on the 3-day time frame, obviously right now the Bitcoin dominance is continuing to play out the bullish divergence as predicted, as I've been saying every day for weeks now on the channel, since basically all the way back down here almost a month ago now. I've been talking about this bullish divergence in the 3-day Bitcoin dominance chart, saying and predicting here on the channel that we're likely going to see a bullish relief moving forward for the Bitcoin dominance, which means a lot of the altcoin market will be underperforming Bitcoin, doing worse than whatever Bitcoin is doing. And obviously with that latest flash crash, we very much saw that in the crypto market. Obviously we saw a flash crash for Bitcoin, but if you pay attention to altcoin prices, altcoins did a lot worse than what Bitcoin is doing, which is what I've been warning about every single day for weeks now on the channel. Check any one of my videos. You'll see me talking about how altcoins are most likely going to be doing worse than Bitcoin. Once again, I've been saying that every day for weeks. So hopefully you took that warning at some point in the last few weeks. And just before talking about Bitcoin and crypto funding rates, where there's currently a massive opportunity to make very quick and easy profits in the market, first taking a quick look at Ethereum on the 3-day Ethereum price chart. And right now the price of ETH has basically broken below this area, but still technically waiting for confirmation on the 3-day time frame in terms of the candle closes here. And so obviously this area of support is still sitting in between around 3.9k to 4.1k, especially if we can confirm this 3-day candle close below 3.9k, or especially if we basically just fail to get back above that area, start flipping it into new resistance. In this situation, this is now starting to form larger bearish price structure, not just a short-term flash crash or a short-term pullback, but potentially longer-term bearish movements. And so keep this in mind. This is really a make or break moment for the price of ETH when we're talking about the next few weeks or months. Yes, that is right. This could likely cause a larger bearish move over the next multiple months if we fail to get back above this area very soon. And the next major targets I'll be watching out for is at roughly 3,500. And obviously we did bounce from roughly 3,500, at least on this Coinbase chart right here. Obviously on different exchanges, the prices of different crypto assets went to very different prices. And that's another reason why I think maybe some market makers got completely blown up on that latest move, because obviously some exchanges went offline, some exchanges had completely different prices, different funding rates, etc. Usually market makers take advantage of those opportunities and arbitrage those opportunities, but right now that's not really happening. So it's a good chance that some market makers got completely blown up. And so if we break below around 3,500, it's quite possible we could see a continued dump for Ethereum all the way down towards around 2.8k. So keep that in mind. I'm warning you now before it happens. If we fail to get back above this area on the price chart, expect a larger drawdown in the coming 1 to 2 months. And if we're taking a look at the 8-hour Ethereum price chart, in the immediate short term, obviously we hit oversold, and now just in the immediate short term, it's very likely we're going to see either a very, very slight bounce or some choppy sideways price action. Basically, the market settling a little bit, leaving the dust to settle a little bit in the next couple of days. It's very likely, usually after a very volatile move towards the downside, we end up seeing basically the market just chill out a little bit in order to reset some of these indicators. And so that's just what I'm expecting in the immediate short term. Talking about the next 1 to 2 days, most likely a bit of choppy sideways price action. So essentially the prices of crypto assets just stabilizing a little bit in the short term. And obviously that bearish divergence that I warned about at much higher prices played out very nicely here over the last few days. And we're now actually starting to form a bullish divergence, which is just now starting to confirm with one confirmation signal here, with lower lows obviously in the price and higher lows in the RSI for Ethereum here on the 8-hour time frame. And so this is potentially another reason as to why we could likely see just a slight little break from all of the bearish price action. Not necessarily a major bullish move. Once again, do not expect a massive bullish move like this all the way back towards the upside, but do expect just a bit of a break from the bearish price action, most likely some choppy sideways price action, or possibly a very slight little bounce at some point in the next 1 or 2 days. Very, very likely. And if we're taking a look at the price of Solana on the 2-day time frame, obviously Solana has now clearly broken below the previous low. Technically still need to wait for confirmation in terms of a break below the area of support, but we now have a clear lower high in the price and now a lower low in the price, which is indeed bearish price structure on this 2-day Solana price chart. So we're now officially starting to see a change to the trend, obviously for a long time, for basically since around March, April, all the way up until just recently around October, we've been in a larger bullish trend with the occasional short-term bearish trend or short-term pullback during the larger bullish trend. But this is now where that is potentially starting to change. Obviously now potentially starting to reverse the trend into what could be now a larger bearish trend that could play out over multiple weeks, if not months. And the area that we need to quickly reclaim in order to avoid potentially something much worse is of course this area on the price chart in between 190 to 200. So that is a crucial area for the bulls to reclaim in order to maybe start flipping a little bit more bullish again. But for now, obviously still below that area, and actually expect resistance in that area now in between 190 to 200. And as for support, we drop back down towards roughly 170, at least on this chart right here. Once again, on different exchanges, prices went to different prices, crypto assets went to different prices on different exchanges. But we could see that at least on this chart right here on this exchange, the price of Solana went pretty much exactly towards 170, which is where I was targeting in my last video before the crash happened. I said if we break below 190 to 200, expect to move down towards around 170, and that's exactly what played out as expected. And if we break below 170, expect to move at least least down towards around 156, but most likely towards around 143 to 146 is a very likely price target if we first confirm a break below 170. And obviously in the short term, that bearish divergence played out very nicely here that I've been warning about since much higher prices. Obviously we had a bearish divergence back here, which resulted in a major pullback, and of course another bearish divergence here resulting in a major pullback. But considering the fact that we've hit extremely oversold levels, and of course other crypto assets are starting to stabilize a little bit like Bitcoin, it is very likely that Solana and a lot of the major altcoins out there will start to stabilize a little bit now in the short term. So once again, don't expect a massive bullish recovery straight away, but do expect most likely a bit of choppy sideways price action, just a bit of a break from all of the bearish price action in the next 1 or 2 days is a very likely scenario now in order to reset the RSI and price oscillators like this out of oversold towards more neutral levels. And now that I've talked about all of that, and just before talking about other altcoins like XRP, Chainlink, etc., first talking about a massive opportunity in the market where you can make very easy profits that I'm doing right now, which is of course an arbitrage opportunity in the crypto funding rates. And once again, it's because of this arbitrage opportunity that makes me believe potentially some market makers got completely bankrupted on that last move towards the downside, because usually we don't see an arbitrage opportunity like this very often, especially an opportunity of this size. Because if we're looking at the Bitcoin and crypto funding rates, I want to draw your attention to specifically the Solana funding rates right now and see if you could spot any differences. Obviously, a lot of the funding rates are very, very negative, but on BTNX, the Solana funding rates are extremely positive. And for reference, the neutral funding rate for any of these assets on any of these exchanges, the neutral rate where markets are usually at 0.01%. So this is the neutral rate right here. Anything that's close to 0.01%, relatively neutral, very normal for the market. And usually all of the funding rates for a particular asset are relatively close to each other across different exchanges, like what we see right now for Bitcoin. The funding rates are pretty similar across all of these different exchanges. But if we're looking at the funding rates for Solana, we're seeing a massive difference between the negative funding rates on some exchanges like Binance, OKX, Bybit, etc., and a positive funding rate on BTNX. And in case you're new to all of this and you have no idea what any of this means, essentially all you really need to know about the funding rates is if the funding rates are negative, if you're longing a certain asset. So for example, if you're longing Solana on an exchange where the funding rate is negative, with just by holding a long position, even if the price goes sideways, you're actually earning funding fees. You're earning fees usually every 8 hours paid into your account if the funding rates are negative and you're in a long position. But if the funding rates are positive and you're in a short position, you're earning fees as well. And so basically when the funding rates are negative, the short positions are paying the long positions funding fees. And when the funding rates are positive, the long positions are paying the short positions. And so what I have done in order to exploit this arbitrage opportunity in the market right now, which I'm sharing with you right now, is of course be delta neutral, which means equal size long and short on these two exchanges right here in order to farm the funding rates. And so you can see right here, I have a long position over on my Bybit account, being very transparent with you, a $500,000 Solana long position on my Bybit account, only on 5x leverage, using very safe margin here, only just 100,000 USD margin right here. And so once again, relatively low leverage. So in order for this to basically get liquidated, there has to be another 20% move either up or down, and I'll explain why up or down in just a moment. But basically there have to be a 20% move in the price in order for one of these trades to get liquidated. But just after a major move like this, another 20% move within the next 1 or 2 days is very unlikely. And even if we start to go with a major move in the next 1 or 2 days, I could just close both of the trades and remain delta neutral. So I'll explain more about that in just a moment. But right now, once again, $500,000 Solana long position on Bybit, and also a $500,000 short position over on BTNX, shorting Solana. So I want to make this very clear so no one is confused. I am not bullish or bearish on Solana. I'm not betting on the price going up or down. I am doing this to farm the arbitrage, farm the gap between the funding rates. And so basically, because I'm equally long as I am short, I'm $500,000 short, $500,000 long, equal size long and short, which means if the price goes up or down, these unrealized P&L our numbers cancel each other out. So if the price goes up, the short position loses money, but the long position gains an equal amount of money. And of course, it's the same in the other direction, just the opposite way. Obviously, if the price goes down, the long position loses money, but the short position gains an equal amount of money. That's what's called delta neutral. It doesn't matter what the price does. But because I'm currently in a short position while funding rates are extremely positive for Solana over on Bitfinex, I'm earning funding fees, which is this realized number right here. You can see already funding rates, basically free money essentially coming into my account right now just by holding a short position on Bitfinex for Solana at the current rates. And it's the same for this long position over on Bybit at these negative funding rates. You can see the shorts pay the long. So with these realized profits right here, you can see obviously funding fees, earning USDT, earning passive income just by simply holding a long position open over on Bybit with negative funding rates. And I also want to make this clear, the more people that know about this opportunity, the less money that I could ultimately make, because basically as more people take this arbitrage trade, the funding rates will ultimately come towards each other and close the arbitrage, the more people that actually take this opportunity. So yes, I'm actually screwing myself over by telling all of you about this opportunity. And so rather than be selfish and make a bunch of very quick and easy profits for myself, I'm letting you know about this very free, very transparently here on this channel, completely for free. A lot of people will charge for this information, but I thought I'll just let you know about this information. Some of you might have lost money on that latest drop towards the downside. Hopefully you avoided the drop if you watch my videos here on this channel, but if you lost a bit of money, potentially this is an opportunity to make back some very easy money right now that I'm doing right now. And I want to make it clear, obviously you can't just do this on one exchange. You have to be ultimately arbitraging the difference between the funding rates on these different exchanges. And obviously on pretty much all the exchanges, the funding rates are negative, besides just Bitfinex. Basically, that's the only exchange where the funding rates are positive for Solana right now, at least on this chart right here. And so for example, you could be long on pretty much any of these exchanges, Bybit, OKX, Binance, any of these exchanges with negative funding rates can work for the long position side of the trade. But for the short position side of the trade, you need an exchange that has the positive funding rate. So for example, if you're shorting, for example, on one of these exchanges with the negative funding rates, then that doesn't really work. You need to be shorting on Bitfinex for this trade to actually be working. And if you also want to take this trading opportunity like what I'm doing right now, of course, I'll leave a link to Bitfinex. If you don't already have a Bitfinex account, I'll leave a link to Bitfinex in the description and in the pinned comment. And if you use that link, it will take you to this page right here where you can also claim massive trading and deposit bonuses. For example, you can claim up to 120,000 USDT out of a prize pool for trading bonuses here, and also deposit bonuses. For example, if you deposit just $1,000, you get a $200 bonus into your Bitfinex account. Basically free money from the exchange just by trading crypto using that link. So if you're going to be trading crypto anyway, you might as well get set up ready to go using the link below the video to Bitfinex to take advantage of essentially free money here from the exchange, only available using that link. And in case you're wondering, Bitfinex is a no KYC exchange, which means you can access it from basically any country in the world without needing any KYC. But as always, check your local regulations when it comes to trading crypto. And for future reference, if you don't want Bitfinex as an exchange to trade on, there's also 2bit as another exchange that I also trade on. So I'll also make sure to leave a link to 2bit below this video. And if you use that link, you can also claim massive bonuses here. For example, you can claim up to 10,000 USDT in trial fund bonuses and 8,000 USDT in actual withdrawable stable coins just by simply trading and depositing crypto using that link. And on top of that, without making any trades or any deposits, you can also claim a free $30 sign up bonus and 1 month free VIP3 upgrade. So basically very cheap trading fees over on 2bit. But once again, all of this right here is only available using that link. And in case you're wondering, 2bit is also a no KYC exchange. And so this current arbitrage opportunity in the funding rates is a perfect example as to why it makes sense to be set up ready to go on multiple exchanges in case one of these arbitrage opportunities pops up. Obviously, an opportunity like this, you ideally want to jump on it straight away, because most likely within a couple of days from now, these funding rates will start to normalize a little bit as the market settles a little bit. Basically, the funding rates will start to come towards together and close the arbitrage gap. And once again, the more people that take the opportunity, the more people that know about this opportunity, opportunity, the faster that gap will close and the less money that I will make. So once again, I'm screwing myself over by telling you about this, but I'm literally just doing this to help you guys make a lot of very easy money like what I'm doing right now. And with that being said, taking a look at the price of XRP on the weekly time frame, and right now XRP is still playing out the massive bearish divergence that I actually warned about months ago now on the channel. Check my videos from August, July, almost all-time highs onwards. I've been warning about this massive bearish divergence, telling everyone expect a larger pullback. I've been saying those exact words almost every day since around late July onwards, and I actually got a lot of negative comments, a lot of hate comments here on the channel telling me I'm going to be completely wrong about that larger pullback that I predicted back in around July to August. Once again, watch my videos that I posted back then. They're all still there of me warning about a larger pullback, a larger slowdown as a very likely scenario in the next couple of months for XRP from July to August onwards. And so obviously, even though I got a lot of negative comments back then telling everyone that we're most likely going to see a larger pullback, obviously it has been playing out very nicely as I warned about. And if we're taking a look at the daily XRP price chart, something else that I warned about was, of course, this drop down towards $2. Now, we actually went even below $2, which personally surprised me a little bit, but we did go down towards $2, which is what I talked about before the entire move even started. And once again, this was another reason why I got a lot of negative comments over the last few days when I was warning. When the price was at around $2.90, $3, I said, if we first confirm a break below 270 to 280, I said, first of all, that is an area of support to watch out for. Yes, it's possible we could see another bounce here, but I said, if we break below $2.70, and especially if we fail to get back above that area, in that situation, expect a very large drop, is what I've been saying for days now on the channel since much higher prices. I said, expect a very large drop, at least towards roughly 250, 240, most likely towards $2. Yes, $2 per XRP as a likely scenario if we break below 270. And ultimately, we did end up seeing that, despite the fact that a lot of people were telling me I'm going to be wrong about this drop. A lot of people were saying I'm completely, basically a fool for predicting $2 per XRP when the price was back up here at $3. And so hopefully some of you out there at least heard my warnings about this major drop coming very soon and took profits like what I was doing on my Bitcoin long position. Already had taken a lot of profits, had stop loss sitting in profits, and basically completely avoided the entire dump, and now actually profiting from market inefficiencies. But now that all of that has happened for the price of XRP in the altcoin market, once again, in the immediate short term, it is very likely that in the next couple of days, the price is going to stabilize a little bit, possibly see a slight bounce in the next couple of days, but honestly, a very likely scenario, some choppy sideways price action. So once again, a slight little bounce, maybe a slight little pullback, but ultimately forming choppy sideways price action is a very likely scenario. Something like this is going to be very, very likely in the next couple of days, just in the short term, for the market to stabilize a little bit after this major move. And if we're taking a look at the price of Chainlink on the daily time frame, obviously Chainlink got hit extremely hard with that latest drop off right here. In fact, I was watching this basically just after I posted my last video, and I was quite shocked actually that we dropped all the way down towards $8 per Chainlink on this Binance chart right here. And so obviously a drop of that size from around $22 down to $8 in a matter of minutes, literally not even a few hours, in a matter of minutes, this is not normal price action. This effectively means people were forced to sell. In other words, long positions getting liquidated, leverage getting wiped out of the market, and quite possibly large players like market makers, possible exchanges. Obviously, I don't know that for sure, but possibly an exchange, possibly a market maker got completely wiped out of the market on that move. And so honestly, in the next few days or the next few weeks, I would not be surprised if news comes out saying that some massive crypto player out there, an institution or something, got completely wiped out, went bankrupt on that move. I'll not be surprised if we end up seeing that news very soon in the coming days or weeks. But for now, looking at support and resistance to watch out for, in terms of the daily candle closes, we're currently bouncing at this level of support at roughly 1740 to 1750, which is also what I talked about in my last video. But if we break below this area, of course, the next area of support is sitting in between around 1520 to 1570 approximately, if we see another break back below around 1740 to 1750. And as for resistance to watch watch out for if we see a bit more of a bounce here. Expect a lot of resistance at roughly $19.50. So really in between $19 to $20 as a major area of resistance. And clearly, as I've already been saying for a long time, we're seeing larger bearish price structure. We're in a larger bearish trend already, forming lower highs and lower lows, as I've already been saying for a long time now on the channel. But like I've been saying throughout the video, just in the immediate short term, when we're talking about the next 1 or 2 days, expect the market and the price of Chainlink to stabilize a little bit in the immediate short term, most likely form a bit of choppy sideways price action, which can be some slight little bounces, slight little pullbacks. Ultimately, price action like that is very, very likely in the next 1 or 2 days. And once again, if you want to trade any of these moves in the price of any crypto, like what I'm doing right now, to make a lot of very quick and easy profits in the crypto market, then you have to be set up ready to go on a crypto exchange. And once again, if you're using the links below the video to those exchanges, you can claim massive bonuses that are only available using those links. And if you want to actually know how you can take trades like this, then make sure to watch these videos popping up right here on your screen. The video in the top left shows you how you can profit from bullish or bearish price action using long positions or short positions, and the video in the bottom left shows you how you can easily profit from choppy sideways price action. But anyway, that is everything that I have to say for today. I really hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you all in the next video.